A house for $5,000 in America? Not a typo. Real towns, real people, and real weird reasons why home prices dropped harder than your portfolio in 2008. You're not supposed to know this, but there are US towns where you could buy an entire house for less than a used Honda Civic. Here's what Wall Street doesn't want you to know about buying entire neighborhoods for less than a Tesla. This isn't surface-level Zillow browsing. This is the dark web of American real estate. And trust me, you're not ready for what's next. Detroit, Michigan. You can literally buy a house in Detroit for less than a year of Starbucks, and not in Monopoly. Real Detroit. Like actual deed-in-hand Detroit. The motor city that put the world on wheels, and then drove straight into a brick wall of economic collapse. Once a booming industrial beast, now it's home to some of the cheapest real estate in the country. And yeah, it feels like a scam, but it's not. Here's where things get spicy. Median home price in some neighborhoods under $10,000. Vacancy rate over 20%. That means entire blocks are just there. Empty, waiting, creepy, and yet rent prices are climbing. Detroit's cost of living is 9% below the national average. But utilities are higher, and you will need security cameras. Violent crime rate, a whopping 1,965 per 100,000, about 5 times the national average. But here's the twist. New businesses are popping up. Ford's in town again. Tech hubs are quietly testing the waters. People on Reddit even say stuff like, "Detroit's not scary, it's just honest. You know exactly what kind of day you're going to have when you wake up and your car is still there." Buying cheap in Detroit is easy. Living there, that's a different game. You'll either become a community hero or your mailbox might get stolen. Seriously, Detroit roads don't have potholes. They have miniature craters. Some locals fill them with soil and grow tomatoes. Welcome to urban farming. If Detroit's potholes eating Priuses sounds wild, wait until you see where the house costs less than the car parked outside. Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan is one of the only cities in America where the house is cheaper than the car parked in front of it. Sometimes, way cheaper. Home of General Motors, legendary labor strikes, and unfortunately the water crisis heard around the world. This city has been through it, and somehow it's still standing barely. You might know Flint from headlines about lead pipes and lawsuits, but there's another side. Dirt cheap real estate. And yeah, it comes with a warning label. Let's get into the numbers. The median home price, around $45,000. Yes, that's not a typo. That's an actual house, not a shed. Cost of living roughly 23% lower than the national average. Average rent around $800 per month, and even lower in some areas. But here comes the downside. Flint's violent crime rate 1,880 per 100,000 people, about 4 times the US average. A Reddit user once said, "Living in Flint is like playing SimCity on hard mode with a random disaster setting permanently on. Want a home you can pay off with a few paychecks? Done. Want to walk outside after dark? That's going to cost you." Here's what no one tells you. Flint is extremely passionate about coney dogs and absolutely feral when it comes to fireworks. Like Tuesday in July sounds like a war zone. 4th of July, just kiss your sleep goodbye. Imagine stepping out of your $600 a month rental hearing a lawnmower, a boombox playing 90s R&B, and someone fixing a car with a lit cigarette. From Michigan's urban battlefields to a border town where tacos cost more than property taxes. Macallen, Texas. Macallen, Texas is one of the cheapest cities in the US to live in, and somehow also one of the most misunderstood. It's like if a Costco moved to the border and got really into mariachi. Welcome to a border town with palm trees, taco trucks, and real estate so cheap it'll make your mortgage cry. The vibe? Think Florida without the retirees, California without the prices, and Arizona, but with actual culture. Macallen sits right on the US-Mexico border. It's hot, it's humid, and somehow it's quietly become a hidden gem for people who want to stretch their paycheck without moving to a bunker. Here's what the numbers say. Median home price around $24,000. which is wildly low for a city with an international airport and multiple Target stores. Cost of living is 20% below the national average, and average rent hovers around $850 per month. Unemployment is low, around 4%, thanks to logistics, healthcare, and cross-border commerce. And get this, Macallen has one of the lowest property tax burdens in Texas. Yes, Texas. But here's where it gets spicy, literally and politically. Macallen is also smack in the middle of border debates, immigration headlines, and cultural crossroads that feels more global telenovela than small-town USA. A Reddit user once said, "Macallen is where you can buy a house, get a dozen tacos for $6, and also accidentally attend a quinceañera all in the same day." Macallen has 2 seasons. Hot, and are you kidding me? You could fry an egg on the sidewalk in July. And don't get me started on the mosquitoes. They're organized, like unionized. Texas heat melts your brain. But Kansas City might actually steal it. Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri has houses under $50,000 and a crime rate so wild you might get mugged while calculating your mortgage savings. Barbecue capital, jazz birthplace, home of fountains, football, and shockingly affordable real estate if you know where to look. But we're not talking about the shiny part of KC that shows up in travel brochures. No, we're going east of Troost Avenue, where the homes are cheaper than some people's monthly rent in San Francisco. Let's hit the facts. Median home price in zip code 64128, around $43,000. Cost of living 21% below the national average. Average rent under $800 in many neighborhoods. But, and here's the spicy part, the violent crime rate is 1,700 per 100,000 people. Unemployment higher than average. And infrastructure, let's just say your tires are going to get a workout. Yet something's brewing. Local developers and small investors are scooping up entire blocks. Art collectives, food co-ops. KC is having a low-key renaissance, just not evenly distributed. A Reddit user put it best. Kansas City is where you can buy 3 houses and a brisket for the price of 1 Brooklyn parking space. But one of those houses might be haunted by a raccoon gang. Let's talk parking lot etiquette in KC for a second. I've never seen so many people just invent parking spaces. Curbs optional, lines decorative. You'll see pickup trucks parked sideways like they're showing off. Imagine settling into a warm, quiet Kansas City neighborhood. Trees lining the street. You hear a saxophone somewhere in the distance. The mortgage lower than your phone bill. But then a few streets over, it's a different world. KC raccoons unionize in backyards, but Mississippi bugs file actual paperwork. Greenville, Mississippi. Greenville, Mississippi is one of the few places in America where you can buy a full-sized house for less than a used jet ski and still get blues music with your breakfast. Right in the heart of the Delta, the birthplace of the blues, catfish festivals, and apparently ridiculously cheap housing. This town has that small southern vibe. Dusty roads, brick storefronts, and neighbors who will absolutely wave to you and your dog. But behind the charm is a reality that's more complex than it looks. Let's dig into the data. Median home price around $81,800. Average rent around $670 per month. Cost of living about 30% lower than the national average. But violent crime rate is over 1,200 per 100,000, and job opportunities tough. The local economy relies heavily on agriculture and a small casino scene. The upside, that dirt-cheap mortgage and a front porch big enough to host a band. The downside, you might need that band to distract from the broken streetlights. As one Redditor put it, Greenville is the kind of place where the gas station clerk knows your middle name and how many people live in your house. Greenville, where the humidity is 97% and that's indoors. Let's talk bugs. In Greenville, the mosquitoes don't bite you. They file paperwork. These things have wingspans. Don't even bother with bug spray. Just carry a tennis racket and hope for the best. Picture it. You're sitting on your wraparound porch with a glass of sweet tea, cicadas buzzing, someone nearby picking a steel guitar. There's barbecue smoke in the air and someone yelling "Roll Tide" at absolutely nothing. You paid $700 a month for this, and somehow it's both peaceful and totally unpredictable. Southern Gothic bugs are organized, but ghosts don't even pretend to pay rent. Pear, Cheney, Michigan. There's a town in Michigan where land is free, houses are gone, and the neighbors mostly ghosts. Let's talk ghost towns, literal ones. Pear, Cheney. Michigan isn't just cheap. It's cursed, abandoned, and possibly haunted. This place was once a booming 19th century lumber town. Then came the fires, then the diphtheria outbreak, then the stories. Now it's barely even marked on a map, unless it's a paranormal one. Real estate here technically available. You can buy land in the area for under $1,000 an acre. But good luck getting a loan when the only comps are tombstones, population 0. Job market, unless you're a ghost hunter or forest ranger, slim pickings. Crime rate 0, but also no cell service. Rent nope, no structures. Cost of living rock bottom, just bring your own plumbing. And holy water. The most famous story is the legend of a witch buried at the cemetery, whose curse allegedly doomed the town. A Redditor once posted, "You don't visit Pear, Cheney. You get summoned there. Here's the kicker, you can own a piece of this place. But moving in, that's a whole other vibe. You'll get peace, quiet, and possibly glowing orbs above your backyard. It's the only place where your biggest real estate risk isn't termites. It's vengeful spirits. And don't expect Wi-Fi out there. Seriously, this isn't no bars. This is no signal, no tower, no nothing. You're on your own. At night, it's just you, the trees, and whatever whispers your name in the wind." One local urban explorer said, "I don't believe in ghosts, but I still won't camp there alone. In Pear, Cheney, your neighbors might float through your living room. Ohio ghosts judge your coffee choices, but Alaska monsters judge your survival skills." Moonville, Ohio. In Moonville, Ohio, land is cheap, rent is 0, and the ghosts don't even pretend to mind their own business. This abandoned 1800s coal town is best known for one thing, the Moonville Tunnel. And depending on who you ask, it's haunted by not one, not two, but at least 4 different ghosts. One of them smells like lavender. Not kidding. If you've ever thought, "Hey, I'd love to live in a place where real estate meets horror fiction," well, this is your golden ticket. Now, to be fair, you can't exactly rent a condo here. Moonville is technically a ghost town. No homes, no school district, no Starbucks, but you can buy cheap land in the surrounding area for as low as $1,500 an acre. And if you're into off-grid living, this place is literally off every grid. Crime rate 0. Job market, you'll have to commute or haunt your old office. Cost of living depends on how much sage and EMF detectors you buy. As one Redditor put it, "It's like living inside an episode of Scooby-Doo, but the ghosts don't always wait for nightfall." If you're brave enough to live here or build near here, you'll get total privacy, creepy silence, and a potential side hustle as a haunted Airbnb host. But you also might end up doing your laundry next to a ghost brakeman from 1859. Look, I get the appeal. Land is cheap, the trees are beautiful, and the stars are amazing. But let's talk about rural Ohio bugs for a second. They don't bite, they attack. They're huge. They have agendas. One flew into my thermos and started judging me. Alaska monsters judge your survival skills. Portlock, Alaska. Portlock, Alaska is a town with no zip code, no neighbors, and no functioning post office. Just a long history of murder, mystery, and monster sightings. Let's crank the creep factor up a notch. Portlock, also called Port Chatham, is a remote ghost town on Alaska's southern coast that hasn't had a full-time resident since the 1950s. Why? Because the people who lived there fled, and not in the economy went bad kind of way. More like something was in the woods and started dragging people into the fog kind of way. Today, land here is dirt cheap, unclaimed, and probably available if you're gutsy enough to try, but with stories of disappearing hunters and a Bigfoot-style beast called Nantinaq. Well, Zillow doesn't exactly have listings. Let's break it down. Population 0, unless you count monsters. Land cost as low as $1,000 an acre depending on access. Crime rate officially none, because there's nobody to rob except you. Utilities, lol. Employment. Better bring your own business or hunt salmon with your bare hands. One Alaskan commenter on Reddit wrote, "If you hear something screaming in Portlock, don't go looking. Just apologize and drive away. Sure, you'll save on rent, and your only traffic is moose, but also no cell service. No grocery store, no roads, just fog, forest, and the constant feeling you're being watched by something. Also, let's talk Alaska daylight. It's either too much or not enough. In winter, it's like living in a vampire's cave. In summer, you're sleeping with blackout curtains taped to your soul. Picture it. You step outside your hand-built cabin. Mist rolls through the evergreens. Your boots crunch moss. Your breath hangs in the air and somewhere way off. You hear a tree crack. Washington murder mysteries move to schoolhouses. Govan, Washington. In Govan, Washington, you can buy a town for less than the price of a used Subaru, and it might come with its own murder mystery. This place is rural, eerie, and so cheap it feels illegal. We're talking houses, barns, and entire lots listed for under $10,000. It's the kind of town where the loudest thing at night is your own heartbeat, or the wind, or a door creaking in a schoolhouse that hasn't held a class since Prohibition. Here's the rundown. Population 3, and yes, that includes pets. Median land cost under $5,000 per parcel. Rent practically non-existent unless you rent from the raccoons. Crime rate 0 probably. There's no police, cost of living next to nothing. Just bring your own water, power, and paranoia. But here's the twist. This town has history, and not the fun kind. The local judge and his wife were axe-murdered in 1902. Another family was found dead on a nearby farm in the 40s. The Govan schoolhouse, collapsed steeple, creaky windows, perfect horror movie set. As one local posted online, "Living in Govan is great if you like silence, wind, and a vague sense you're not really alone. Sure, it's cheap. You could technically become the mayor, sheriff, and postmaster all in one afternoon. But you'd also be very alone, and when it's 2 a.m., and your only company is a derelict schoolhouse, you might start to wonder what exactly you bought into. Let's talk small-town isolation. You want peace and quiet? Govan gives you total silence, but need groceries? That's a 40-minute drive. Break your phone? Hope you like old-fashioned maps. Need help? Shout into the wind. It won't answer, but it might whisper back. Pennsylvania burial grounds left something much stranger. Beulah, Pennsylvania. Beulah, Pennsylvania is the kind of place you can own land for free, but might come with a ghost orb, a forgotten graveyard, and a cursed love story from 1861. So yeah, totally normal bargain. Beulah isn't a town anymore. It's a legend. Originally settled by Welsh immigrants in the early 1800s, it was meant to be a spiritual utopia. Spoiler alert, it flopped. The town was abandoned, swallowed up by time and forest, and now lives on as a cemetery, a crumbling foundation, and a series of creepy stories told by hikers who swear they saw something glowing. But hey, land around here is still stupid cheap. And I mean like $1 and a handshake cheap. Let's get into the spooky data. Cost of land. Some lots sold for under $500 with no development restrictions. Crime rate basically 0 unless we count spectral activity. Rent not applicable. The buildings are ghosts too. Job market. You'll need to remote in or start a business selling sage and EMF meters. Quality of life depends on your tolerance for eerie silence and unexplainable lights floating over moss-covered headstones. One Redditor put it like this: "You don't move to Beulah, you get drawn there. Cool, totally not terrifying. Yes, the land is real. Yes, it's available. And yes, you'll probably end up in a BuzzFeed Most Haunted Places article if you decide to live there. But hey, no HOA fees. It's the only place where the resale value might depend on whether your ghost stories go viral on TikTok. Here's what no one tells you about living near abandoned ghost towns. The bugs don't care about your ghost problems. You'll be battling moths the size of sandwiches, mosquitoes that hunt in packs, and spiders who do not care about your lease agreement.